the Mount Rushmore, a great national monument of four of our most influential presidents, each one representing something important: birth, expansion, preservation, development. But today, we're not going to be talking about the Mount Rushmore. There have been different Mount Rushmores of different topics, whether that be gaming, anime, comics. But today, I'm here to narrow it down to the Mount Rushmore of Dragon Ball. Alright, let's not waste time anymore. Let's just dive right into it with our most obvious first face of our Dragon Ball Mount Rushmore. Now Goku, I mean, dude, without Goku, there'd be no Dragon Ball. I mean, dude's the main protagonist. He started the story of Dragon Ball in the first place. I don't think I really have much to say about Goku. I mean, dude, he's Goku. Everyone knows Goku. You go to an anime con, there's Goku. Everyone knows Goku. You go to a Comic Con, everyone knows Goku. You go to a church, someone probably knows Goku there for sure. Who knows, maybe he'd be your priest. Goku is just too iconic of a character, man. I mean, you look at his gi, you think of Goku. That blue and orange gi, yeah, that's Goku. I mean, you look at his silhouette, yeah, that's Goku. And if you just want to get into Goku's character, I mean, Goku is just the shonen protagonist. Goku's basically the one that kind of started it all for shonen protagonists. When you think of Naruto, you think of Goku. When you're thinking of Luffy, you're thinking of Goku. If you're thinking of Ichigo, you're thinking of Goku. I mean, Goku is just the one that set the standard for shonen protagonists. Another thing about Goku is that he was always the first character to take his transformations one step further than the others. I mean, Goku helped push Vegeta to achieving Super Saiyan, and then he helped push Gohan to reaching Super Saiyan 2 in the hyperbolic time chamber, training for Cell. He even pushed Broly beyond his limits too, in the movie. All in all, Goku is he's the face of Dragon Ball, so I mean, yeah, he very well deserves that first face on the Dragon Ball Mount Rushmore. Now, let's get into our second face of the Dragon Ball Mount Rushmore. Now, Vegeta, he's also just way too iconic. I mean, he's the one responsible for one of the greatest rivalries in anime for sure. I mean, if you've seen Naruto and Sasuke's rivalry, that actually comes from Dragon Ball, with Vegeta and Goku's rivalry. The creator of Naruto, Masashi Kishimoto, was heavily inspired by Dragon Ball. Goku was an influence for Naruto, Vegeta was an influence for Sasuke, which had all helped create some of the most iconic rivalries in anime. Now, let me actually get into Vegeta's characters. So, Vegeta, in my opinion, is the best character in Dragon Ball. And I will say there are a lot of other characters that have done the things that Vegeta has done before first. Piccolo's character arc was pretty much the same as Vegeta's, but Piccolo did do it first. When Piccolo was first introduced, I mean, he wanted to conquer the Earth. And at that point, he ultimately became Goku's rival too. And then when we get to the Saiyan saga, he finds out that there are just much bigger and badder guys out there. And to get ready for these bigger and badder guys, Piccolo has to train with Gohan, because Goku's dead. So when he trains with Gohan, he actually spends a lot of time with Gohan. And Gohan was a friendly kid. Gohan was one of the only people that was actually nice to Piccolo. It was probably one of the best things to ever happen to Piccolo, since he was always being treated like a monster or a villain. And all of this would ultimately come down to Piccolo sacrificing himself for Gohan. And then from this point on, Piccolo would actually become a member of the Z Fighters. And now, all of that character development was a bit similar to Vegeta's character arc. For Vegeta wanted to destroy the Earth, and then he learned that he needed to get rid of a bigger bad guy. And then after that, he spent some time on Earth. And then, when spending time on Earth, Vegeta gets to experience things he never really got to experience in his childhood, or ever in his life. Having a kid, having a family, having friends that you can actually rely on. But the thing about Vegeta is that when he fights, he only fights for himself, and for his own pride. Or at least, that's what he wants to believe. Things get more interesting when we get to Majin Vegeta. Now, Majin Vegeta is a product of Vegeta wanting to become his old self again. That ruthless Saiyan that he once was back in the Saiyan saga. But Vegeta can't really ever tap into his old self again, because he really does have people he cares about. Even back to the Cell Saga. This is why Goku just keeps telling Vegeta like, hey, do you really believe what you're saying? Do you really believe that at all? What makes Vegeta different from Piccolo is that Vegeta always had that rivalry with Goku in him since day one, and to this point of Majin Vegeta. But that all comes to an end whenever Vegeta does his final atonement. He's actually fighting for someone other than himself by sacrificing his own life for them. Now, although Vegeta may not be the best character for everyone, but he is for sure the most interesting character for everyone at least. Honestly, dude, I can go on and on about Vegeta, cause that's just how deep his character is. And that's why he deserves the second spot on the Mount Rushmore of Dragon Ball. Alright, now let's get into our third face of the Dragon Ball Mount Rushmore. Now, Frieza, he's just the most iconic Dragon Ball villain. Like, Frieza is the definitive villain for Dragon Ball. Like, there's a reason why Frieza is going to be the final villain in the Dragon Ball Super manga. With how strong they made Frieza in the Super manga, being able to one-shot Ultra Ego Vegeta and Ultra Instinct Goku, yeah, he's definitely gonna be the final villain for sure. Frieza is also very crucial to our other two faces on this Mount Rushmore, Goku and Vegeta. Without Frieza, Goku and Vegeta would absolutely be nothing. It's kind of like in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You take out Dio from JoJo, then you basically don't get JoJo's at all. Dio was a major villain in parts 1 and 3 of JoJo's. And in the rest of the parts where he wasn't even there, he still has a big influence on those parts, setting the story forward. It's the same case with Frieza. Frieza was the major villain for Dragon Ball up until the end of the Frieza saga. And after the Frieza saga, he still impacts the story like a lot. When we get to the Android saga, the androids don't know about Super Saiyan, and Super Saiyan happened with Frieza. And when we get to the Cell saga, Cell does have cells of Frieza. And you can actually see him inherit some of those traits from Frieza, being able to breathe out in space, doing the same shenanigans that Frieza would pull if he were losing in a fight. And in the Buu saga, when we talk about Majin Vegeta, Frieza was actually a big influence on Vegeta becoming a Majin. Majin Vegeta wanted to sever his weakness of having a family and getting in touch with the old Vegeta. And the old Vegeta never got to experience ever having a life and a family, all because of how much Frieza influenced his life. All Vegeta has ever done in his life was serve under Frieza, and his only purpose to Frieza was just being a soldier, and he never got to experience a life outside being a soldier for Frieza. And then that's when we get to Vegeta's death on Namek, where Goku vows to avenge Vegeta and the Saiyans, and to beat Frieza, and to become the very thing that Frieza fears, the Super Saiyan. Frieza is always going to be a crucial part of Dragon Ball, even if he's not even there, but he's always usually everywhere. He's always returning in later arcs and in movies and in the manga, and he does so because people love Frieza, while people shouldn't even love him in the first place, despite with all the things he's done to our favorite characters. And that's why Frieza deserves the third spot on the Mount Rushmore of Dragon Ball. Now, before we get to our last guy on the Mount Rushmore of Dragon Ball, I want to go through some honorable mentions real quick. Now, Piccolo was the first to do the whole redemption arc thing, like what Vegeta went through. But I think Vegeta did it a little better. And since Piccolo was the first to do his redemption arc, I think it helped create a better redemption arc, which would be Vegeta's redemption arc story. I'm not saying that Piccolo's was bad, but I'm saying that Piccolo's redemption arc was still really good. It's just that it gave birth to a much better one. And Vegeta's dynamic too with Goku is just so much better. Them two being Saiyans, it does a lot for their characters. Now, Gohan was meant to be the successor to Goku, but they never really fully went through with that. It might have been good for Dragon Ball for Gohan to take over. Might have not. Who knows? Because the idea of Gohan being the successor to Goku and replacing him was never fully acted upon. Gohan is still a really good character, and probably one of the most interesting characters to watch grow up. Broly is the biggest mascot for the Dragon Ball movies. He's in everything. Games, movies, he's just a complete aura-farming badass. There's a reason why he became canon to the story. Everyone just loves Broly. The guy just has a lot of potential too. Sadly, however, he just doesn't have a big of an impact like the rest of the Mount Rushmore. Cell is another big iconic villain for Dragon Ball. Probably one of the most well-designed villains of all time in my opinion. He's just way too perfect for this Mount Rushmore. But he just doesn't influence Dragon Ball as much as the others mentioned. People just also love Cell though. Like, there's a reason why they brought him back for the superhero movie. Alright, that seems to be all of our honorable mentions. Now, let's get into the final face of the Mount Rushmore of Dragon Ball. Beerus helped us bring more Dragon Ball. Without him, there would be no Dragon Ball Super. No Super Saiyan God, no Super Saiyan Blue, no Rose, no Ultra Instinct. Without Beerus, Dragon Ball would have surely ended with the Buu Saga or GT, but we also would have ended with the adaptation that came from the depths of hell. Beerus was just the thing that needed to get rid of the evil energy that Dragon Ball Evolution released out into the world. Dragon Ball Evolution almost destroyed our world, and that's when Akira Toriyama saved us by giving us Beerus. And it was actually confirmed that Akira Toriyama made Battle of Gods and Beerus because Dragon Ball Evolution was just that bad. Toriyama was actually finished with Dragon Ball after GT, but then Dragon Ball Evolution came around and he had to make something that would cancel that out. And all that eventually paved the way for Super and helped bring us more Dragon Ball content and just keep it going. And yeah, I think that's my Mount Rushmore Dragon Ball. But if y'all got a different Mount Rushmore, hey, let me hear about it. Let me know. Other than that, I think that's it for this video. Well, I guess I'll see y'all next time.